Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes, bringing you another Old Man Orange Presents Via VHS episode. One of them from the rarities vault that we have from back in the day that just never got put out. So come join us for another fun-filled retro movie review. Let's jump on in.
So welcome to the Via VHS Podcast. I'm your host, Wesley. Spencer Scott Holmes is here with me for, maybe forever. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to turn out.
Well, we just, we got good movies in mind and might as well talk about them. Why not?
Might as well, this is, something special what we're starting out with here. So first of all, sorry the audio kind of sucks. We're doing this is like our first run with Zoom. We're trying some stuff out. And I was able to use my microphone with setup before, but now I need to plug in my headphones and do all this mess. So it's not gonna work tonight. So you're gonna get this weird hollow sound that I have going on, but I'm still talking in the mic like it's active, but it's not. This is just
it's a problem.
It's how you use your turn signals when no one's around. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a comfort thing. Now it's like kind of like stationed here, and I can't really move it, so I don't want to. So there's that.
You know how that kind of goes. I also like how we're like mustache brothers right now too.
Well, yeah. I see. Here's the thing. You could probably grow a nice, glorious beard of all sorts, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I was like, you know what? The other day I was out walking in these big trees area in Calaveras, and I was like, man, it's hot and humid. I'm getting all sweat. I'm like, I'm just going to shave it off. I'm like, go for that Burt Reynolds, Smokey and the Bandit look. So then I shaved it all off, and then when I was kind of done, I'm like, well, how's the Burt Reynolds look? Kind of feel sort of like Freddie Mercury with my hair growing back, but...
Well, first of all, I'm insanely jealous. I basically get to this level where I'm at right now, and it just stays like... weird for a while. I could grow a nice beard, but it takes a long time because this area is very stubborn. It's very stubborn here, and so it just looks ugly for quite a while. But I can get a pretty good Don Johnson going on. I can get a pretty good 5 o'clock shadow going on.
That was what I was about to say. I was like, your mustache is coming in very Don Johnson, Miami Vice-ish. And that's a good look.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining. So. Anyway, basically, Spencer and I both love movies. We both love talking about movies. And I tried the YouTube thing for a little bit where I was talking to myself, and I hated it. It's boring. I'm not boring. Well, maybe I am, but that was boring.
Yeah.
So
it almost gives you that feeling like you're a crazy person, just talking to like the wall, talking to nothing. It's one thing, I guess, if, you got kind of a nice, like, narration and so on going on and a script, but if not, it's like a one-way conversation.
It is, and I don't like that. I really, really don't. I would just sit down here in my hot garage and get really angry and throw my notes and re-record things over and over because the OCD takes over, and I'm just like, well, when you're in a conversation, you can't be like, okay, guys, let's stop and go back and do that again.
Well, it's sort of like what Eugene Levy said in American Pie 2 when he's like talking. He's like, Jim, it's like hitting a ball against the wall. It's fun, but it's not a game. You want a partner, don't you?
Only you could make that profound. Only you.
Wise words by Eugene Levy in any of those American Pie movies. Even those weird spin-off ones. Still wise words by Eugene Levy.
Real quick before we get into what we're doing, have you watched Schitt's Creek?
No, I haven't. I've heard about it, but I've never watched it.
I haven't watched it. My wife watches a lot of it, so therefore I watch a lot of it. But I haven't sat down on Schitt's Creek. But it is funny. Eugene Levy's great in it. And oh my gosh, I forgot her name. The mom from Home Alone.
Oh, wait, I can picture her face. I can't tell you what her name is off top.
I'm not thinking of her name. She runs in that comedy clique with him. She's in that group.
Mm-hmm.
The group, kind of offshoot of Spinal Tap group. She kind of runs with those people. I think she did CCTV, whatever it is, of Canada. Yeah, they're Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
SCTV.
And I think so many of those people like stem from like National Lampoons, and then it spread off to all those other things and what have you.
Yeah, they need to make a chart one day. There's probably is somewhere.
Yeah, there probably is some weird like map.
Topic. So I want to start off with something kind of weird. And we were both throwing around some movies, and we're going to do kind of early on in this, new era via VHS. We're going to do some weird stuff that maybe you've never seen or maybe never even heard of before, and then we're going to kind of bounce around into some more well-known stuff, and then we'll save the really, 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 really big stuff for later. The Star Wars, the Indiana Jones, the what have you. That the really big, Jurassic Park stuff like that will be way down the road. But I was kind of racking my brain to see what we wanted to do, and one of the movies that popped into mind was BMX Bandits, because at Alamo Drafthouse, I think it was before the movie Bombshell, because that had Nicole Kidman in it. They were showing clips of this movie, and Nicole Kidman, she's going to be what, 16 years old?
I think so. It's 1983, so it's super young Nicole Kidman.
Super young Nicole Kidman. This is 37 years ago. Well, it was 38 years ago, probably when it was filmed. And so super young Nicole Kidman, and she's doing tricks on a bike, and I'm like, it's just so bizarre, and it's got this weird 80s pop song I've never heard of before in the background, and I'm like, what is this movie? What's going on? So I had to watch it, and we both watched it, and we're going to talk about it. This is the first time you've seen it, right?
This is the first. I didn't even hear about this movie. Like, you literally sent me a list of movies, and I minused everything out the second I saw. I'm like, what is that, BMX Bandits? And I want to watch that one. I don't need to know anything else. That title alone is an amazing title. I am so sold. And then when you're like, oh, dude, it's got a young Nicole Kidman, I'm like, don't tell me anymore. I'm watching it. It's like, let's see where this is going. This sounds so intriguing. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, it's an Australian movie when I was watching it, too. I'm like, I didn't even know that was going to be the case. Yeah. I forgot she kind of was. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of get used to it. Like, those actors, after a while, it's kind of like, it's even like Mel Gibson. If you were not a Road Warrior fan and nobody told you he was Australian, you would probably never guess it by this point. You know what I mean? He's ditched the accent, he's disappeared and so on. Like, and that's sort of like the same with Nicole Kidman. So, like, when you kind of go in, it's like, oh, man, full-on Australian accents. Like, this BMX thing just kind of like, it must have been huge down there, too. Like, because I remember BMX got popular, I felt like, sort of, like, it seemed like in the U.S., like, granted, yeah, there was BMX bikes always, but it seemed like that popularity didn't really happen until about the late 90s even, too. Maybe earlier than that. But, somebody who was into BMX would be like, dude, I was doing it the whole time. I'm like, yeah, but...
Okay, not everybody was. Yeah, like 90s was rollerblades. Like the early 90s, that's when rollerblades kind of took off.
And I had a pair of rollerblades.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was horrible.
Oh, terrible! It was dangerous too. I remember because everywhere I went, like, it was just super cracked roads, and it was like, this is a terrible idea. What was I thinking?
We wanted to play hockey because there's no ice in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Or at least not for very often. So, so rollerblades were like the early 90s. And the late 90s, you had X Games come out and Tony Hawk's doing his thing. And then you get the baggy jeans and everybody's putting corn patches on them, the band, and Lee Pipes.
Yeah.
That's when it kind of got big here. But who knew the Sydney, Australia BMX scene was so popping in the early 80s? Who knew?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, because I was watching this movie, I'm like, dude, this is one of those movies that I know if you would have been like an Australian kid watching this movie when it came out, this would have been like the Three Ninjas for you, like back there.
I was thinking Three Ninjas when I was watching. I really was.
That was the first thing I was like, dude, this is so like proto-Free Ninjas, except for it's on BMX bikes and whatnot. Because, I kid you not, I was just thinking about, like, man, if I was a kid, like, where I was from, we had dirt bike or mountain bikes in a sense because everything's dirt terrains and whatnot. So we go ride those things around, and you try to do like a trick on a dirt bike. It's not really the same thing. Like, and as a child, you just kind of combine all bikes are kind of the same thing. It doesn't really make a difference, right? So wrong. It's like riding a street bike on the dirt. Boy, get ready for a wild ride. But I kid you not, you would have watched this, and this movie would have been like, Dude, did you see that part where they're just like running through town and the bad guys are chasing, man? Like, that's where I want my life to be.
It was So, I mean, first of all, I think this movie, I didn't find any information on it. Actually, I forgot to read the trivia, so I hope you did. But I forgot to read the trivia on it.
There wasn't a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot. It was kind of a lost gem flick, let's say that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence of this, but I have a suspicion that Mongoose somewhat funded this movie.
Mongoose and Oakley, because they're like everywhere in this. That was the other thing too. Is like I guess I didn't realize how old those companies were too. It's like, oh yeah, geez.
Yeah, and the Oakley logo looks the same. Like they haven't changed it.
Yeah,
I guess the Mongoose logo hasn't really changed that much either. But dude, they have like, I mean, they were like, it was an image thing. Like it wasn't just, we're out riding our bikes. Like mine's blue. I've got blue tires. But they were all like, they weren't tricked out that much. There wasn't a lot of extra stuff on it. They didn't have baseball cards in the spokes. I'm not playing that game. Like but it's just, they got to look fresh. It's an image thing.
No, they're like candy coated in this thing. Like they almost look like characters straight out of a video game. Like there's the red player, the blue player, and the yellow one. Like I mean, like all the way. Like they're sold. Like whatever color you chose, you're going the distance of that color. Don't you dare think you're gonna put a little bit of fuchsia in there. No.
No, that's funny, but then that also is kind of like Three Ninjas a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it's it has that 80s look to it too, where they have the rainbow patches and bright colors and very distinct. And Nicole Kidman's wearing those yellow pants with the stars down the side. Mm-hmm. It's very, very 80s. But you know what though? For this film, presumably being a low budget film, I don't expect a whole lot of money was put into this. And being a foreign film, essentially, it looked good. Did it not look like really good quality?
Oh, totally. I think the whole way through, I was pretty impressed with it. If it is a low budget film, I mean, granted, like maybe because it's also when you're in Australia and you're at like the coastal beach and everything like that, you probably have like this prime location that probably doesn't cost nearly as much as like, say shooting like Santa Barbara or something like that in like California and what have you. So maybe that's also it too. You can save more money there because it's like, oh, you're shooting a movie here in Australia? Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a full Australian production. It looked great. It's like BMX Bandits is like, imagine Mad Max, right? Mm-hmm. But instead of Mel Gibson running around in leather in the V8 Interceptor, being chased by other bad guys in leather with weird weapons, you've got Nicole Kidman on a yellow BMX bike riding around Sydney, the suburbs of Sydney, instead of a dystopian wasteland. And because some of the, like this movie, like it builds a little bit of character and story, and then it's just, I feel like an hour-long chase scene there in the middle.
Yeah, there is a huge chase scene, and it's weird because this movie's like extraordinarily simple. And it's like almost like one of those concepts. It's like as 80s as you can kind of get, because like literally these kids, like their bikes get broken. They're like, oh, well, we got to kind of go find a hustle. So they know that like for some reason they go out into the ocean and just kind of start pulling things up. That's what I kind of thought. But they pull up this like box and like, what's in the box? And they open up and like, hey, it's walkie-talkies. Well, let's go sell this to like the fat kid. He likes stuff like this. That's I love how there's kind of supposed to be like the fourth character, but instead it's just the lazy fat kid who's probably his parents are really rich, so he has all this cool BMX stuff, but he never goes out and really rides it.
He's the key. He's the key to all this. He's like what's his name in Harry Potter? Like the one that everybody makes fun of until the very end, and he's like important.
Oh God.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. There's that other kid in there and so on, but like the one's not like the trio.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just there, and like it's weird to think that like that whole concept is like, man, these bad guys are like they're after these kids that like practically they're trying to like almost like kill these kids in a sense because over walkie-talkies, which sounds like one of those ones like when I was watching, I'm like, were walkie-talkies really worth that much money, like in '83? Like that you would be like, stop those kids! Don't you dare take our 3 walkie-talkies from us.
First of all, there was more than 3 walkie-talkies. Second of all, these were very important walkie-talkies, Spencer. Okay, these were crucial to this villain's operation. I guess I I guess I will. Obviously, we won't go into the whole plot of the movie because I want you to watch BMX Bandits.
Mm-hmm.
You need to watch BMX Bandits. But essentially, you got 3 kids. You got Goose, Jay, and then Nicole Kidman, whatever her character's name is.
Well, then that one kid just has, his voice is such a deep Australian voice. If you close your eyes, you picture he's like 45 years old. Then you open him up again, it's like, oh, it's a 16-year-old boy with blonde hair again. Like this is weird. That kid's voice is so deep.
I feel like it's literally the same guy from The Road Warrior, but he drives the helicopter. He just looks a lot younger.
Yeah, that guy.
Is he Goose also or something?
It might have been something like that.
I don't know. Anyway, these 3 kids, it's summertime. They want to go ride their BMX bikes, but there's an unfortunate accident. They don't have any money, and they're hustling. So simultaneously, these bad guys are also hustling. They rob a bank. The cops are after them. And they got this new plan to essentially do a huge heist. It's like $250,000 a piece. They don't want to go into any more details than that. We don't know where this heist is taking place. It doesn't matter. What you need to know is that walkie-talkies are crucial to the operation because these walkie-talkies are kind of like bootleg, and you can intercept the cops' transmission. You can listen to the cops and be one step ahead of the law enforcement. And so ultimately, they drop these walkie-talkies in the harbor. The kids find them while they're looking for mussels or clams or whatever. And now
that was just something like that must be an Australian kid thing to do. If you need some money, you just go out into the ocean and just pull stuff up. Like that was the part where I was like, I feel like I was being educated right there. Like,
really? Well, I mean, I guess like I don't know. Maybe my buddy Kyle lives in Maryland. I feel like if he needs something, he'll just go find some crabs and sell them. That's probably the closest equivalent. But yeah, there's like, oh, our bikes are broken. We'll just, go sell some shells to somebody. Man, the Australian economy in the 80s must have been great.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. I was just like, wow, there's like just magic money out there in the ocean. Like, you really don't have to do, I mean, I guess you are sort of doing a crime because you're robbing somebody else's like pot, but at the same time, it feels more, like not nearly the same as like anything else. Just like, oh, you just pulled something out of the ocean.
Yeah.
Out of the bay.
Yeah, it's a great way to make money for these Australian youngsters, little Aussie youngsters, and they start hustling these walkie-talkies with the longest antennas I've ever seen.
I have a walkie-talkie that looks kind of like those ones. It's from the 80s, exactly too, and it's just massive with these big old antennas that you can poke your eye out with. Well, you probably wouldn't poke your eye out because it's so long, anyways. Poke somebody else's out, but they're CB walkie-talkies. So, if you didn't want to install the CB radio in your car, you could have just a full-on walkie-talkie and carry that around.
A CB radio in his car where he'd listen to it on the way to the beach in his truck while we're hauling the camper, and he'd be talking to the truckers, and you know all their lingo. I'm not that cool.
Well, that was I remember like in high school, we tried to get people to like put CB radios all in their cars because this was still the time period where like cell phone service was already kind of shoddy. So, you're like, but if we had CB radios, one, we could be like the Dukes of Hazzard. But like, first and foremost, that's all I need to know. Because I kid you not, that was what high school life was like racing down dirt roads, jumping vehicles, and trying to get people to install CB radios.
Between the two of us, you sound like you're more from North Carolina than I am.
Yeah, that's the thing. People always think like, you're from California. You never really sound like. I'm like, yeah, but Eastern California and the Yosemite area, it's a little bit different. It's literally like a Dukes of Hazzard episode, but just with mountains and trees instead.
Like if I was to pause this screen right now and say, hey, what grew up like my one of us knows the Earnhardts. Like which one is it? They wouldn't guess me, but you'd be wrong. But walkie-talkies are still cool. Like even though they're not needed anymore, like I could just call somebody. I could text people now, but I see walkie-talkies. Like man, I want one of those, but I don't need it.
Do you remember like 10 years ago or so, they had those cell phones, like pretty much right before, in a sense, smartphones kind of came out. They had the ones that had the walkie-talkie feature built into them.
Yeah.
I remember that, like seeing that, I'm like, dude, that's such a cool feature. And like The only downfall is I think that it was kind of like a fake because it wasn't really a walkie-talkie. It was like it just had sort of a walkie-talkie feature. I think the thing was is that you had it and then you kind of, if somebody else had that same service and you programmed them in, you could kind of talk back and forth, but it wasn't like a straight up channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like talking to people and so on.
But it was like an ongoing conversation all the time. Instead of like, okay, let me call so-and-so. Hey, what's going on? Or let me text so-and-so. It was just like, you hit a button. Hey, man, what you doing?
Yep.
Oh, no. That is kind of cool. There is a convenience in that.
Yeah, it was just for a time period. Because, walkie-talkies were like, and that's where I look at this movie, too, is because this one was ones like, I know that probably if someone was a little bit younger might be watching this, and it would go, what's the big deal about walkie-talkies? So like, whoa. They were like walkie-talkies and sort of a before someone really had cell phone era, like, man, that was just the ultimate thing. Like, you could use them in a 5-mile radius anywhere. You could talk to somebody and what have you. The other thing you could do, I remember like going to like ski resorts and we take the walkie-talkies up there and like 10-year-olds, ski resort, walkie-talkies, bad because all of a sudden you turn into like the like the ski lift operators like, hey, you stupid kids get up there. Like, hey, what are you going to do, man? Walkie-talkies. I think there's an emergency down on chair 7. I think I spotted Bigfoot, because like that was like times like what they gonna do? Like gonna track you down? Like no, they have no idea where you are. It's a ski resort. Like you could be anywhere.
When I was a kid, I was telling my wife this recently, even before I watched BMX Bandits, that I had walkie-talkies and my neighbor did, and then our friend Andre did. He lived a couple blocks down, and we kind of lived in an area where it was in a town, but there was also woods around, so we could kind of had the best of both worlds. Like I could ride my bike to school, but then I can also be in the woods. It was very Goonies, kind of. So anyway, we all had walkie-talkies and BMX bikes, and we'd go through the woods, and there was this guy we were convinced was poaching. I don't even know what the honey. I don't even know what the laws are, like when he's allowed to kill deer. But we're like we concocted this idea he's a poacher, and we were like spying on him and had all this stuff going on with our walkie-talkies. So this was just like if I would have saw this movie when I was a kid, this would have been top 5 easy. Just like it was speaking to me. BMX bikes and walkie-talkies, I am sold.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's what it is. Just take me back because I'm like, man, like you had a bike. You had a set of walkie-talkies, like as a kid, like what else? You had a pocket knife. You have everything you needed. You could go and live off the land now. Because, that's what it was. And you go out and you'd solve mysteries of your buddies and you'd like hang out with each other, but then you would be like kind of far apart so you could use the walkie-talkies. There was just so much great time to be had. And it's just like one of those things. It's like, it's kind of a bummer because it's like, I don't know. When was the last time you used walkie-talkies? I still had them in like my video bag, but I just haven't. That was like the last time I remember really using them.
Oh, you froze for a second. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were in deep concentration of thinking of the last time you used your walkie-talkies. I was like, man, he's thinking about this. He's like, man, I'm going to think, when was it? Because, I said that BMX Bandits. So, because it's like one of those ones like, whenever anybody kind of grows up, there's those certain movies, give or take, and a lot of times you don't have to like necessarily grow up the second that it was in theaters, but if you just had to watch it as a kid, even if it was like a 10-year-old movie, 15-year-old movie, but you had the VHS copy or whatnot, there are certain flicks that if you would have saw that as a kid, just would have like sealed in the deal, like that's it, you know what I mean? It was kind of like when I was a kid, even like this sounds weird, but like it was like watching like Son-in-Law. I'm like, that's what college is going to be like. I know it. Right when you go to college, it's going to be just like that. I know it says 1993 at the very beginning, and by the time I get there, it's going to be way past that. But man, that's what it's going to be. BMX bikes would have been that. You would have watched a kid be like, dude, when I'm 16 years old, dude, I'm going to be having sweet adventures, multicolored out or one solid color outfit. You know what I mean? I'll be speaking Australian. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's just weird to see, especially Nicole Kidman in this, because she's so young.
And she's got the curliest hair known to mankind.
So curly hair, she's redheaded. She like, but you can tell she's going to be a star. Like she definitely is the only one that's like really, really acting. I don't think the other. I remember looking on IMDb and scrolling through, and like like all the other people in the movie, they don't have like a face.
Mm-hmm. That's always the indication. I make sure that I even have a face on IMDb. It's one of those things, Oh,
yeah. Well, I don't know why. I need to be on IMDb. I'm bummed about this. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. This movie is just so low key, but I guess because of Nicole Kidman, because she's huge now. She's one of the biggest stars in the world. I guess this is kind of carried on because like, hey, Nicole Kidman was in this. Let's check it out. And it's just the whole iconography of it. Everything is so 80s. Like the logo is so badass. But man, don't you want to just go back in time and like, first of all, hang out with these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Also be like, hey, Nicole, one day you're going to meet this guy named Tom. Okay. Now listen, he's real charming. He's got a lot of charisma. Don't do it. Okay. Just save yourself a lot of time and trouble. Just wait for Keith Urban to come along. He'll be
Though you will do Far and Away with him, and I do like that movie. I don't care what anybody says, even if they think that, Tom Cruise has that, Lucky Charms accent, whatever. You know what? Because of all that negative criticism he got, you never hear Tom Cruise use an accent ever since that movie.
No, you haven't. Oh, man, no. He didn't even in Valkyrie.
No, because I remember that threw me off when I was watching Valkyrie, and it's like, oh, he's German? Like, I thought he was just Tom Cruise. Like,
yeah. Like they started off with her speaking German, like to let you know, hey, we're in Germany, but we're changing the language. It was weird. Yeah, he didn't even do an accent in that. But they were in 3 movies together. They were in Days of Thunder.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
That was filmed, where I'm from. That was, that was a big deal in North Carolina. That's where they met. And they were also in the Kubrick movie, the Eyes Wide Shut,
which is another good movie. I like that one a lot too. I just love the weirdness of that one. Just like that's what it is. You're just on this constant mystery of like you don't know what's going to happen next. And I remember that movie too because when that one came out, it was like that sort of thing. It was like just remember kind of being like, so it was like 98 or 99 or something like that. It was somewhere right there. I just remember being like about like 11 or 12 years old, and it was just like. Since it was like a Kubrick movie, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's like I'm watching an artsy movie, so, let's see. But you would just sit there like, your buddies would just be like, oh, well, I didn't expect this to be like how this movie started off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was putting in like the same category as The Shining or like, Full Metal Jacket. I know like that's so weird, but like it just seems like those are the kind of movies like your parents have been like, well, here, if you're going to watch a horror movie, have a good educational one, like The Shining.
Yeah. Yeah. This is good ones here.
It's quality, But yeah, no, just like this, the BMX Bandits is like, it's one of those ones too, because like I saw that it said on there that in the U.S. it originally came out and it was called Shortwave is the name they were going by. So if anybody's like confused on what we're talking about, and then I go Shortwave and they're like, oh, well, I've seen that, but I'm not too sure if this movie was really very widely released in the U.S. at all. It sounded like it never even came out on disc, like either DVD or Blu-ray till like 2013. So it's one of those ones where. I mean, this is also in those weird days, too, where, like, if it's, like, 1983, I mean, think about it. When they released Mad Max, they dubbed it originally in the U.S. The movie, they're speaking English in it. Like, come on. Like, I always think that's the weirdest thing to me is whenever there's, like, a movie from, like, either England or Australia, and they go, oh, well, people can't understand it. Like, dub it. And it's like, what? Or, like, my other favorite one, too, is I remember, like, I used to hear, like, way back in the day that, like, with, Hercules in New York with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're like, oh, you can't understand him. So they have a dub track. And then I remember when I got the DVD copy, I was like, oh, they have the original Arnold Schwarzenegger audio track on there. Sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger in every other movie. Like, doesn't sound any different. Like, I was expecting to have like a real thick German or like Austrian accent at that point. And it's like, no, it's Arnold as you've always known him. Like, but it just like at that point in time, they just must have thought like, oh my God, he's got an accent. Throw it out the window. Or Mel Gibson, dub that guy. We can't trust him. He's speaking Australian. He could be just like making fun of us the whole time. We don't know.
Well, it's sad because they probably did, kind of look down on this film in the United States, like, oh, we're not giving this a wide release. We're putting this in theaters because, it's Australian and, Americans can't handle an Australian accent.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. But if they messed up because they could, everybody had money in the 80s, okay? You know how many kids would have bought BMX bikes? You brought the 16 years. You could have got a jump on the BMX industry 16 years earlier if you had brought BMX Bandits out here.
Oh, totally. And I'll even say this, because generally, I always think this is kind of weird when I always call them when they have to make kind of like, I always call it the stupid American version, when you have a glorious foreign movie, but for some reason that's not good enough, so you got to remake it in an American way. But this is one of those few exceptions that, like, they literally could have made the American version of this movie, same plot, same story, just throw it like, hey, here's some kids, in Los Angeles, or here's some kids in, like, Philadelphia, or God knows wherever you want to put them at, Miami, and you could have just done that, just exact same movie, just done it like that. And there was some money to be made behind this movie that was just totally lost, because you could have had a craze going way early.
Oh man, they would have been selling walkie-talkies and BMX bikes. And one thing this movie did really, really well, like obviously, the whole thing's a cat and mouse between, they have these walkie-talkies, and then you have the villains that are after them, and then in the mix, not only do you have the police that are kind of like trying to figure out what's going on, they're really nice police officers and all this stuff, but they're causing all this chaos with the walkie-talkies, like interfering with work transmissions, and they drop a giant steel beam on somebody's car and stuff. I mean, they like really have caused carnage. And slap on the wrist, no big deal. Don't do it again, meddling kid.
Yeah, I know. I love how the police kind of are. They're like, well, there was a lot of money we're gonna have to make up for, and it's just like, but if you kids solve this case, and that's the weird thing about me thinking about this one. There's literally no parents in this movie whatsoever.
Wow.
No parents. It's like this movie was very well made for children. You know what I mean? Like, be like, there's no parents. It's kids with ultimate freedom. They're pretty much working they got their own hustle going and whatnot. They're living out in the streets practically for all we know.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman has a job.
She does have a job. She's the only one worth anything. These two bums mooching off, both chasing after Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, they have that kind of thing, And it's just, it's almost like it's finely crafted for a youth, like the way that like a Japanese anime sort of is. Like they totally get their target audience like 100%. Not like one of those ones where it's like a 50-year-old guy going like, this is what kids like. They're stupid, right? No. This is like, I know what a kid wants. And these are those ones where it's like, these kids are 16, but I always assume your target audience is a little bit younger. It's almost that thing that you sort of like look up to, because that's what I always think about these kind of movies is like, you would have watched this movie at 10 years old and be like, that's what my life's going to be like when I'm 16.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was definitely targeted, 10 to 14 was the main age range that they were looking at getting into. And you're right, there was no parents. And they only mentioned his dad having the boat, the little skimmer that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else. And it's just them against these two villains, one with the weirdest, ugliest mustache I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's got like a bad pencil thin mustache. Like it's not even like a good, like a good like 1930s kind of like Errol Flynn, like very like dashing or something like that. It's like it literally just kind of grows out, like he almost like drew it in on there, like instead of like curving it around his actual lip. It's so weird.
It bothered me. It did bother me. And I thought at first the blonde-headed guy, for some reason, I thought, is that Sting?
He does look a lot like Sting.
Does look a lot like Sting. And then, but then I was like, nah, Sting was really big at this time. This was like right before Synchronicity, I think. So he's doing pretty well. I'm not going to be this, offshoot BMX Australian movie, but it didn't look like. I did think it was him for like a split second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are a bunch of no-name people with the exception of Nicole Kidman. I don't think anybody in this movie did anything after really, except I saw like one guy was a stunt guy in Fury Road later. And that was it. And speaking of stunt guy, was it me or was like Nicole Kidman's like stunt person a dude the whole movie?
It was like some 18-year-old boy in a wig and everything like that. Because I was thinking that too. I was like, man, I mean, like she did say that she did learn how to ride a BMX bike, for the movie and whatnot. Like, well, obviously she didn't live the kid's life, didn't know how to ride a bike now. But like, yeah, for all those stunts, I'm like, man, if that would have been Nicole Kidman, because that almost sounds like an Australian thing anyways, be like, oh, she just happened to be a great BMX rider. That would have been like the most amazing thing ever to know, like this factoid, like, oh, Nicole Kidman, famous actress, professional BMX rider. You'd be like, what?
There were some shots you could tell it was her. In all defense, like there were some shots going downhill a couple times, and she was moving, she was booking it with the other guys, and so she did some stuff, like, but the little tricks they were doing, which were not impressive, really.
But by today's standards, I think it's one of those ones we've gotten so used to X Games lifestyle.
That's true, but I think you and I both did those things probably, like going down the steps on the bike, and maybe the handlebar twist. I don't know. The bunny hop thing going on, but Hey, it was. Hey, whatever. I mean, it was still pretty good, but that wasn't that impressive. But they did make it cooler with sound effects.
Oh my gosh, yes, they did.
That was my favorite part of the movie, I think, with the like.
Yeah, it goes in slow motion, like, and then you know that like the next two are coming, and then another one goes, like, you know what I mean? Like that's like that one that's like the guy putting the sound together. I was like, man, this is so cool.
Oh yeah. He was like, no, this is what he was doing.
Just sniffing cocaine off a boomerang. Why not?
Well, I liked it. One point I watched it. I had to turn it down low at one point because my kid was taking a nap. He was like right beside me, and I'm like, I'll turn it down low. And then like when the music came on, that one, you know, what I'm talking about, the track that goes throughout the middle of the movie, that whole really long chase sequence where they chase for a minute and they stop, and chase for a minute and they stop. It's a confident synth music playing.
Well, that chase scene too. Like, there's also another part you kind of think they literally go to a water park and they go down. Like, first I thought, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be ballsy if they like literally ride that BMX bike down the water slide. They don't do that. They throw the bike down and then go after it. But like, still was like, I didn't expect that. Like, that was a weird way to kind of escape on, like, you know, you're fully clothed and you're like helmet and armor and what have you, and then you're gonna go take your bike. You know what everybody always tells you never to do: put your bike in the water.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, granted, you know, if you're a kid and you see a dock and you want to just drive your bike into the lake, there's nothing more fun than that. But gotta get some oil back on it.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, at least it wasn't salt water. But yeah, the bad guy's trying to chase him down the slide. And that one guy just like, I hate falling. That was his quote as he was going down the slide. I was like, oh gosh. I mean, the movie was kind of cringy at times too. It wasn't, I mean, obviously it was far from perfect. I mean, it's a kid's movie, probably low budget, but there was I got bored a few times, especially like in the whole graveyard sequence. I was like, okay, this is taking forever. But I mean, this was like almost Three Ninjas level. Yeah. Almost. It was close.
And once again, it's like, it's 1983. It's like way older than you'd even think too. Like, because when I was watching, I didn't like see the year it was, and I was guessing. I was like, I'm guessing 86. That was my guess. And then when I saw it was 83, I'm like, God, it's even older than I thought. Well, interesting. Yeah, just like, so it is like one of those ones like, you know, and they were basing it off like, they're like, hey, we're gonna make a fun romp like a 50s and 60s British like family kids movie, like, so whatever the heck that was, because I don't know if I've ever seen a British kids movie from the 50s and 60s.
I don't even think the British like kids until the 80s.
Yeah, it's like when I think of like a fun British comedy in like the 60s is the Beatles movies.
A Hard Day's Night, yeah,
or like, you know, like Help and so on. And I kid you not, those are some of the best comedies ever made. You know what I mean? They're hilarious the whole way through. But like, so it's like that was what kind of. So this movie was like an homage movie. It was almost like that thing where they're like, you know, like how Raiders of the Lost Ark was like for 30s and 40s like action adventure movies. This is like, what if we took that fun 50s and 60s British kids, you know, and we did it with BMX bikes? Like, that was like the goal. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it worked. I was expecting atrocious. I was expecting something that was really difficult to watch, poorly made, just a novelty because Nicole Kidman's in it. That's really what I was expecting. And instead, I actually had a decent amount of fun with this. Like, if my kid wanted to put this on, I'd be like, yeah, let's watch some BMX Bandits. I need the VHS for this or a poster because all the artwork for it is just amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah, the poster for this movie is just really sweet. You know, they spared no expense on that part.
Oh no, this movie has style, and I think for the most part has substance to go with it. But man, it definitely has style.
And it's such like a proto extreme sports movie. Like, I thought about that. I'm like, I was trying to think. I'm like, I'm like, gosh, is there any movies I can really think of? They're like, you know, there's some surfing ones, I guess you would say, that would be like, you know, early extreme sports type films. But like, I was like, man, this thing is like, it's almost kind of a groundbreaking movie too. You don't think much of it, but like, just for how old it is, it's like, this is like such a proto 90s lifestyle movie, but you know, in the 80s and what have you.
Yeah. And you know, they didn't do, it's the 80s, so they weren't perfect with this. And I don't care about PC stuff at all, but I was really worried. I'm like, oh gosh, 16-year-old Nicole Kidman, they're gonna mess. This is gonna be problematic. But no, like they actually like treated that character pretty well. Like they made her good at riding the bikes too. Like they didn't just like, she wasn't always damsel in distress. And when she was damsel in distress, she was taking care of herself, which was pretty cool. So I mean, that character was actually pretty well developed. I mean, the other characters, you know, they set up things with them and dynamics that really don't go anywhere, but it doesn't matter, because all you want is to get to the end and have this army of kids on BMX bikes armed with flour of all things and in a war with
guys with guns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought about. Like, these kids are coming to a flower, and these guys with guns and baseball. I love the guys like, grab this baseball bat. I'm going to hit some children.
Yeah. No. We're going to beat these folk.
Just like, this guy had some pent-up rage. He was like, there's 500 kids there. I'm going to start swinging.
I was thinking about, like, how would that fight really go? So you got, I mean, with not 500 kids, we're going to say 100.
Yeah, there's still a lot. Like, this is like the part, like, if there was like the big expensive, I mean, it's probably not expensive because probably back in the 80s, be like, hey kids, who wants some candy? Okay, show up here for this 6-hour shoot. And you know, here's the thing. If you were like a 12-year-old kid with a bike, you would show up. Be like, dude, they're going to fucking give us some candy. And we get to be in a movie.
Yeah. See, if they did that in the United States, they don't have to have SAG cards and shit.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you there wasn't. No. Because there's something kind of glorious about like those early film days for all those other countries, kind of especially like, you know, post World War II on up. You know, there's that kind of nice period where like you could just. That's why like Italian movies are so good, like in that time of thing, because they could do anything. There's no rules or regulations. There's no copyright. Just, if you like an American movie, do it yourself. Resell it.
We're going to make a movie like The Great Escape. Okay, so how is it like The Great Escape? Well, no, we're remaking Great Escape. Yeah, that's basically...
It's called The Grand Escape.
The Grand Escape. It's going to be even grander than The Great Escape. This is... They would have had trouble making this in the United States. But man, they would have sold a ton of BMX bikes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man. But hey.
Yeah.
This gave us Nicole Kidman.
It really does. And she starts off strong in this movie. I mean, like, she's not billed as the main character, but she literally takes it over like the whole way through in this one. You know.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was like, you tell she has star power, and the other kids are like, well, they are what they are. We don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, this one kid has he talks like he's 45 years old. What's he gonna, when he's 45 years old, he's gonna talk like he's like 110.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman's 52 now, dude. We just watched that movie. 52 now. That's so like, it's weird.
It's that weird thing where like there's that period, like she's just like a little bit older than me, like that you kind of have that feeling. It's like, oh well, if that's the case, I guess she's a little bit more than just that. But no, I would say BMX Bandits is a total like hidden gem, like lost find of like any 80s and 90s kids repertoire. It's like you could never be too old to go watch the BMX Bandits. So like it definitely like. I feel like it holds up really strong. It would only have been just even better just to see it as a youth. It would have been easily in that set of like those like fantastic like upbringing movies. You know, in that same line as like the Goonies, right there along with Three Ninjas. You know what I mean? Things like Ninja Turtles and what have you. Boom, 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 boom. It would have been that one. Or like The Wizard.
Yeah, I agree. This movie, I really wish I could have saw this as a kid because I definitely would have went with my friends. We already had BMX bikes. But I would have went out with my friends. I would have got our walkie-talkies. We've been in the woods, riding around the block, doing all these cool things. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to give a number score for this. I'm going to. I'm going to give this movie a solid 6. I think this is, especially, I'm going to give it a 7 because what I thought it was going to be, it's far surpassed that. It was actually fun. It had style. It had substance. Nicole Kidman's great in it. It's fun to see her as just like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watch it. It's on Amazon Prime still as the recording of this, so it'll probably be on there for a little bit longer. So if you want to go check out something kind of cool, kind of novelty, BMX flick, go check out BMX Bandits. So anything else before we head out? I know Pizza Boyz is. You there?
I'm still here.
Oh, sorry. My phone went down to 20% and it popped up and everything went black. I'll do that again. Well, at least I can still edit this, so that's good. So anyway, Spencer, we'll be doing a lot more of these, so that's awesome. Obviously, Pizza Boyz just prerequisite. It's just going to be there on every video, every podcast. We'll be talking about Pizza Boyz. You got a couple new issues out.
I do. I got issue 9's the newest one right now. It's the easy way to sell it, as I say. It's laser tag meets the escalation of a Vietnam War film.
I love the cover of that one.
I just wanted to give it just like that because most of the time I always kind of give Pizza Boyz like that, like almost like that 70s 80s like exploitive like kind of cover where there's just all this like action going on and I'll have words and so on like danger and action and make it kind of fun. I'm like, I'm gonna make this one kind of simple and just badass, just holding up a gun over there, cigarette hanging out and whatnot, just like laser tag. It's hard as war. And then I just love because you open the book up and right at the very beginning I use a quote from Platoon that's one of my favorite ones ever, but instead I do have laser tag where it's like, laser tag? What do y'all know about laser tag?
Yeah. I'm jealous. I like Pizza Boyz.
But tying into this one though, the new issue actually it doesn't have BMX in it, but it has skateboarding in there.
I mean, honestly, you could just take the BMX bikes out of this movie and just make it a skateboard movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they would be as evasive from the back.
If it was 1999, you could make it a Razor scooter movie.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
That one right there, the Razor scooter version of this film, there's only a pocket moment in time that it would work, but boy, would that be something special.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen the Razor scooter kind of like having a little bit of a comeback, a little bit of a renaissance. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've seen a lot of kids on them.
That's true. I have passed by and you see children like whipping out the scooters and what have you once again. But there was that boom when that Razor scooter just was like, they made that one model and just every kid kind of had it. I didn't have one, but I borrowed one from a kid next door because, I was poor. So it was like, I got a dirt bike. My parents said, that's it. Keep it in good condition. Or like not a dirt bike. That sounds like like a mountain bike, I guess. If I say dirt bike, it sounds like it's a motorcycle. But like one of those kind of things. But no, it's like strangely enough, the BMX Bandits, I feel like it's a good like solid concept for like you could really take it and almost like rework it into like all kinds of like spin-off type movies or like knockoffs and so on. And that's not really saying that's a bad thing because it's a knockoff, but like it's just like it's a simple concept. You have your 3 trio of characters, almost what I always call the anime trio. You know what I mean? Where you have kind of like you had to have like sort of like the wiser character. You have like the young brash character, or technically in this one they're all young. And then you kind of have female, but female can go any direction. In this one, she's like, just as in control, if not more control. You know what I mean? It seems like these two guys are almost like her like hanger-ons, and she's kind of like, there's like the cool chick of like Australia.
Oh yeah, which she still is. Nicole Kidman
she still is the cool chick of Australia.
If it wasn't for Queen, she'd be on the money.
Right. Yeah, but it's totally fun. As I said, like can't recommend this movie more. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's like the all-time like, oh, it's a perfect movie. It's up there with like, no, it's not like that. It's just a very neat movie. It's like a super ahead of its time film, and it still holds up great today. And it's just great Australian scenery too to top it off.
Oh yeah, I think that was one of my favorite things about it, and it didn't try to Americanize itself really. They run through a field of people playing rugby, you know, like that. So, I mean, yeah, definitely recommend it. Go to Amazon Prime, watch BMX Bandits. What's the one we're doing next? The Dirt Bike Kid?
Yeah, like another one from the 80s of a kid and a magical motorcycle or what have you.
Yeah, so we're doing the Dirt Bike Kid next. I'm sorry. Let me just say this. Next time I'll be upstairs. So I think it's because I'm in my garage. Yeah, so Dirt Bike Kid, that one's, what's his name from Christmas Stories in it?
Yeah, I can't. I was going to say Ronnie, but that's not what his Christmas character's name is it? Oh, whatever. He's in it, so that makes it kind of interesting in itself. Magic motorcycles. What kid doesn't want a magic motorcycle? I still want a magic motorcycle.
I want this movie to be good because I hate that. Peter Billingsley.
Yeah.
I can't stand him because I hate A Christmas Story so much. I hate that movie.
Do you really?
I hate that movie. Hate it. I understand why other people like it. I hate it. So it's just a personal thing. So don't take it personal. But anyway.
I feel like a hipster. I remember watching that movie before it was popular. That was like one of those early Christmas movies that I remember watching as a kid, and there was like the time where like that movie just kind of went under the radar, nobody really knew about it, and then all of a sudden, like as time has gone on, TBS has blown it out of the waters, and it's become such a big. It's up there with like all the other like A White Christmas and Home Alone and trying to blank on A Wonderful Life, like all those ones. It's like it's in that same category now.
Oh, I can't put it in the same category as A Wonderful Life. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love Wonderful Life.
Dirt Bike Kid, we're going to be checking that out. So we're going to keep the dirt bike theme going. And we'll see what's next after that. I have a few ideas. We both have a few ideas of things we're going to do. So anyway, with that, check out Pizza Boys via VHS. We're on Instagram at Via VHS Pod. We're on Twitter at Via VHS. Come check us out. Follow the hashtag Analog Legends for other nostalgia themed podcasts. So anyway, with that, Via VHS is out.